Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Sunday live stream. And today's a pretty good day. Two reasons. One is because we're at an all-time high. Actually, there's three reasons. One, we're all-time high. Two, we're graced by the presence of Jerry V. Hall. And the third reason is that people just suck. Jerry, how you doing today?
I'm really good. Nice to see you, Rob.
Now, of course, when I say people suck, I'm not talking about the people who are watching this stream, of course. We love everybody here, but the people that suck are the people that just didn't get it. They just, like, you talk to them to the blue in the face, you try to bring them into the fold, you try to like save them, throw them a life raft, but they're just like, you know what? I just want to drown. So that's fine. And you're going to get Bitcoin and altcoins at the price you deserve. And that's really what it comes down to. But before we go on, I have to make mention that if you like what Jerry V. Hall is bringing to you, then there is a great account to follow. It is Jerry's own. There's a link in the description. And you can go from there and check him out. But Jerry, today's a good day. We're at 119K. And I don't, let me see something real quick. I don't know if that has fallen. No, it's about the same.
Yeah.
I mean, it depends on where you go to. But what do you think here? Well, actually, before I ask you about that, let me just compare this. I know everybody's like, it's altcoin season, Rob. Start talking more about that. That may be true, but just remember that the only one out of the top, 50 that hit its all-time high recently would be Bitcoin. And that's a pretty large market cap. Oh, no, I take that back. Hyperliquid hit its all-time high on July 13th. What is the day? July 13th?
Yeah.
Yeah, hit it today. Look at that, Hyperliquid. What's a funny story? I had a lady on yesterday, Gem, and she was talking about how she actually bought Hyperliquid, and that she once it doubled, she sold half, and then once it doubled again, she sold half. I'm like, hey, you must have watched my show. Anyhow, Jerry, what do you think about this? Why are we hitting these highs? And then we'll get into the whole part about why you don't think there's going to be major drawdowns like we did in the past.
Okay. Well, okay. So you're referencing a conversation that you and I had. So, what do I see this market? What is driving this market?
Yes.
I would say the inflows are driving this market. Inflows being the inflows into Bitcoin are driving the price of Bitcoin up. The price of Bitcoin going up is essentially coming and bringing a lot of these other projects with it. Almost everything that you just illustrated there is a direct result of the Bitcoin market going up, which is really, really great, considering that in previous cycles, a lot of what was driving the appreciation in our market, this crypto market, wasn't necessarily crypto itself. It was a liquidity cycle or a business cycle outside in the greater capital markets structure of these things. So this is really, really good news for us. Why do I think the days of 80% drawdowns in Bitcoin are over? I think that is answered by what the chart you're showing right now. We've got such inflows and adoption into Bitcoin that its extreme volatility is over. Now, the volatility that we will experience will not necessarily be a fundamental reason of Bitcoin itself, but it will be more of a function of its easy liquidity. Like when a market is in trouble, the things that are the easiest to liquidate get liquidated first.
Right.
It's just the nature of the stuff. Trust me, if people could liquidate grandma's old jewelry in 24 hours, they would do that before they sell their Bitcoin. But you can't most of the time, unless you go to some, pawn shop or something. So it's going to be really interesting when the macro stuff comes into place and a liquidity cycle starts. We haven't seen that yet. The Fed hasn't reduced rates. There is no major financial market outside of crypto that's influencing our market yet. So when that time does come, like a new Fed chair comes in and rates get lowered and the expanse of credit happens again, holy tamale, what it would do to Bitcoin is going to be amazing. And consequently, what that could do to alts. Now, I had earlier mentioned that I don't think we're going to see big 80, 75, 60, 50% drawdowns in Bitcoin anymore. That's not to say I believe that's true for alts. Matter of fact, I believe alts will have very large contraction periods because we still haven't necessarily found the killer app in blockchain yet, other than Bitcoin being this impeccable store of value. Mm-hmm. Right. But we have stable coins coming, and that's a multi-trillion-dollar marketplace that's only going to grow and grow and grow. We have digitalization or tokenization of real world assets. Which layer ones will those be built on and market share divvied up? We'll find out.
Yeah. So real quick, Jerry, when you said altcoins are going to go down tremendously, are you talking about my altcoins or just some other random altcoins that nobody?
50-60% of your altcoins, if you're anything like I am, are going to suffer 80% drawdowns in the future, just like with every cycle.
Jerry, you woke up today and you chose violence. I can understand that. That's okay. So because you said that, I'm going to surmise that if it's some of my altcoin bags and maybe some other people who are listening, their altcoin bags, they might go up 2x, 5x, 20x, but it won't keep going forever, you're saying? And that maybe they should take profits?
I am saying it is really intoxicating and euphoric to watch your bags just explode, but understand what's making them explode. And that's the thing I didn't get right in 2021, right? Yeah. I made the mistake of thinking I had fundamental value when what I really had was an expansion of a liquidity cycle.
Yeah,
right. True. And so I think it's really important when we start looking at these actual coins that we have in our portfolio and assessing, okay, what true fundamental purpose is this going to have to retain its value? Really, be honest with yourself. Have that kind of honest conversation, like you would have with somebody that you care about, that their money is going to be your money when you die. Right? Have that kind of conversation, because a lot of us, we get married to these things thinking that, we have found the gem that's going to 1000x and stay there. But the majority of those coins are not going to, it happens 1 in 1,000. So what are the odds? The odds are you're holding a bunch of crap, just like I am, just like everybody else is. In 20 years, I'd say 95% of what I hold in my bag right now will not exist.
Yeah, I think so too. I think in the future, you're going to see those families and friends sit down with their degenerates and have like an intervention. They're just going to say, "Hey, we like it. Just come on over." And then you walk in, it's your wife and it's your mom and your dad and your friends are like, "Listen, we know that you think that fart coin's going to go someplace, but I think it's time to sell." Like, no, it's going to keep going. Yeah, that could be us. So as Jerry was alluding to, I think as time goes on, remember to take some profits. Now we're broke taking profits, and you can kind of go from there, right?
In the alts, right?
In the alts,
there are some things that it would be absolutely a tragedy to take profits, right? Bitcoin is a classic example. If you were selling Bitcoin today, your cost to get that Bitcoin back is exponentially larger than the profit you're going to make today. So it doesn't make any sense to sell Bitcoin. But if you have an alt that reaches its all-time high, right, and doesn't have a Bitcoin type story behind it, then obviously capturing some profits would be super smart.
It would be. This just depends on everybody's goals, right? Everybody's got different goals. They're not our goal. That's why we can't get financial advice, all that good stuff. So if we're going to talk about alts, I think we should talk about, how many alts are bleeding to Bitcoin, because, it makes sense to why put yourself through so much risk and mental anguish when you can just put it into Bitcoin. And there's going to be some lopsided bets. I see that. But let's just see how things are doing over time. And we're taking a look at the standard, which is Bitcoin, and the bleeder is Ethereum. Now, Ethereum has done pretty great. And we talked about this over the last couple of weeks, how Ethereum is being added to the balance sheets of publicly traded companies and other institutions. And of course, if we want to take a look at stable coins and the TVL and DeFi, it's doing pretty good. But how is it matching up to Bitcoin? Well, over here is what you got to just pay attention to. As far as like over a day, it's negative 0.02%. But the 1 week, 1 month, and 3 month is looking pretty good. It's actually up 32% over 3 months. But then after that, 4 month and down, unless you were holding for 6 years. It's been pretty bad. And for the Ethereum holders, which I am one of them, congratulations. This was not easy to hold through and have that kind of conviction. And if you were massively going hardcore dollar cost averaging, congrats again, but it's a lot of risk, I will say. How about, let's take a look at XRP. How's that doing today? Again, the 1 week and 1 month looking pretty good. The 3 months, 6 months, not so much, but over a year, 178%. So you took risks, but it paid off. How about BNB? No, you're sucking. You could have just put into Bitcoin and been done a lot better, unless you were here for 5 years holding, which I don't know how many people have. And now let's take a look at Solana. So not too great. Again, 1 week, 1 month, 3 months, over 2 years, sure. But you could have just held Bitcoin and done better. And what about everybody's favorite, or excuse me, the Cardano holders' favorite, Cardano? You're just up 5% over a month, but 16% in a week. So it's something to be aware of. And I think these are the ones that are like what was Jerry was talking about, the utility that's there. I mean, with Solana, we see that for stable coins. BNB is same thing. You take a look at the utility aspect of it for like DeFi and TVL. It can be. Jerry, what's your thoughts about what I just showed for some people? Ethereum, not too bad.
You know, I love when the truth gets exposed, because I tell myself a story all the time, especially around my alts. You should hear the stories I tell myself about the justifications of why they're in my portfolio.
Right.
You know what I mean? And when you look at actual analytics, right? Those numbers are not emotional. There's just the numbers. That is just the truth. And so it kind of validates this new strategy I'm implementing. I've been going through all my alts, things that are bonded, I'm unbonding.
Okay.
I'll forego yield to have near instant liquidity. And when the time's right, I have a lot of liquidations coming up. There are a lot of coins in my portfolio that are going to get the axe this cycle. Okay.
Well, hey, that's not an easy move to do, because after so much time, it's almost like it's like common law marriage. You know, you're with somebody for so long, you're like, well, I guess that's it. I guess we should settle down. But you must get rid of some of these alts, everybody. That's the big thing. And then just to piggyback on what Jerry was talking about, as far as like drawdowns, I want to remind everybody, this is the drawdown from what I consider like the first cycle, 2013 to 2015. And this was good times. Imagine Jerry, imagine this, Bitcoin at $1,000, and then it goes to only $172. That's 85% drawdown.
Yeah.
Can you imagine the people that held on or kept accumulating after that?
Sure.
I mean, it seems so reasonable now, but back then they're like, you dork, you're investing in the internet money. Look where you're at. And then of course,
those are the people that are holding thousands and thousands of coins in 15, 20 different wallets and are keeping their mouth shut about it and just building, real estate developments and traveling the world and experiencing life, a life of dream.
A life of dream. Exactly. Hopefully they have some purpose, whatever they're doing.
Yeah.
But then let's hope. And then I don't actually, there's an old adage that says, don't feel sorry for anybody richer than you. So there you go. And then there's another one, December 2017 to December 2018. It went from almost 20,000 to 3,000, 84% drawdown. I was there. Brutal.
I was there.
Bought
my first Bitcoin. I bought my very first full Bitcoin December of 2018 on my birthday.
No kidding.
Yeah,
Well,
December 3rd.
for a whopping $3,000, congratulations, Jim.
Yeah.
That's a good deal. And then cycle 3 from 2021 to 2022, 77% drawdown. And if we would have kept in line with the 84 and 85, that means at 10K, it could have gone to 10K. And when I made this, we didn't know how low it was. I made this in 2022, like I think it was December. And we thought that, hey, it could go below, and everybody was calling for 10K. But I just want to remind everybody, this is an interesting one. The Bitcoin price has never dropped below the United States presidential election day price. So 2012, November, it never went below 10 bucks. And you can verify that. 2016, Trump's first term, it never went below 700 bucks. 2020, it didn't go below 14,000, but it came close in 2022 at 17,000. And now here we are. This was November 2024. Election day price was 69,000. Did we not get to like 75,000 not too long ago? We were pretty close. Let me see.
I was putting in limit orders after a show you and I did. I immediately went to the terminal and put in some limit orders and got a couple filled at 79 grand. So that was just a month or two ago, I think. I mean,
yeah, you're right. April. It went to 76,000. So, I mean, pretty close to that 69,000. But I think that's the floor for this cycle. I could be wrong. Jerry, what's your thoughts on this one before we get into like some ETF talk, gold talk, stuff like that? Again,
back to I can't see a mathematical reason or a social economic reason for us to have any major regressions in the Bitcoin market when we have all of these tailwinds around regulatory adoption, around corporate adoption, around
institutional
adoption, and the sheer inflows from the legacy capital market structure is just amazing. Listen to Tom Lee talk about the inflows, talk about these people who understand how many Bitcoin are being mined every day, which is the new supply, and the BlackRock and the ETFs alone are it's staggering. It's staggering.
Yeah.
I don't see big regressions anymore. It would have to be the black swan of black swans. And if that happened, I still don't see how it could go below 50%, because you got to understand one of the elements about the inflows from ETFs and retirement mechanisms is that they're elected and they're constant. They don't change like a custodial wallet you and I have. You know how long it takes to change your 401k? It's a 45-day process.
It's a process. Yeah.
It's a process. So it's not like those flows that are strong right now can instantly get turned off. They don't get instantly turned off. It takes a while.
Yeah. I didn't know it was this much of an inflow from Friday. Look at that. This is IBIT or BlackRock. This was the biggest inflow day I think they've had during the ETF. 950. I believe this is in millions. Yeah. Wow. It's almost $1 billion. What? It's almost $1 billion? Shoot. That's insane.
It's getting exciting.
Yeah, it is. Let's see I wonder how the Ethereum ETF is holding up. So, wow. Well, 10th of July. Wow, BlackRock's also doing the same thing. They got 300 million coming in on Thursday, then Friday 137 million. And it looks like we have some pretty positive flows for the Ethereum ETF. And you can just kind of see underneath here is, of course, Grayscale doing its best to dump. But look at that wick. Woo.
See, it starts getting tricky because those two things are not the same thing. Right? Ethereum has an elastic supply. Bitcoin has a fixed supply. And so when you're talking about putting ETFs in your Roth IRA and holding them for 25 years, a elastic supply mechanism like Ethereum is going to have different results over that period of time than Bitcoin. That whole scarcity thing.
No, it doesn't exist.
It doesn't exist. No scarcity. You have to understand that. I don't think a lot of people do, Rob. They think they're the same thing.
Well, I will say, to play devil's advocate on this side, some people don't really care about the scarcity so much because they're like, you know what I like? I like cash flow and I like dividends. So what are they going to get with Ethereum? Well, if they can stake it, which I think there was a resolution for this ETF, they stake Ethereum, they get out, what is it, 4 to 6%? I always forget. And then also, and also you do get the same thing with Solana.
Okay.
So, and of course, this is why I think, like what you said in the beginning, where you said, I don't think, altcoins are safe. I don't think even altcoins that are on treasuries are safe. And we talked about this yesterday. I think the Bitcoin treasuries, they're like, okay, if I just do what Saylor's been doing, and he went through in 2021 hard, 2022 he got crucified, 2023 and 4 he built, and now he's reaping the rewards. If I can just do that, and we can see a clear path for Bitcoin. And just like what you said, you talked about, it's on the balance sheet for institutions, it's in sovereign wealth funds. We're actually adopting it for a reserve fund here in the United States. I mean, for Pete's sakes, the president of the United States talks about it. Unfortunately, he also talks about pump fund type coins like Melania and Trump and nonsense like that. So take that with a grain of salt. But you can kind of see the trajectory there. And then with these ones, these ETFs, like the Ethereums and the Solanas and those types of alts, they do pretty well on those balance sheet. But a question I had, and we talked about this yesterday, is when the S hits the fan and people are like, what does this stuff actually really do? I can see a point for those actually, Ethereum and Solana, tokenization of real world assets. I mean, there's like 400 trillion, $280 trillion, something like that. I can see it, but I don't know if they have the conviction to hold on. And I think that could be that point where it's like, Solana went from $1,500, whatever it maxes out to, and then it drops down to a measly $600. Like, oof, that's not good for us. Maybe they start selling off because, like you said, they can do these things. I don't know. Thoughts on that one, or am I way off?
No, I'm actually, you're forcing me to. Okay, why does real estate continue to hold such an incredibly large portion of the world's wealth? Well, there are several reasons. One, it's an incredible piece of collateral, easy to borrow against.
True.
But also there are dynamics in the marketplace that make it, like I said, very hard to liquidate. If you were in a cash crunch today, your properties are one of the last things that you're going to think of to solve that problem, because it takes so long to find a buyer, go through an escrow process, close the sale, and get the money. Right? You're more apt to borrow against the property. You can get a loan against your property in 5 days.
Like that.
But that's not selling your property, right? So what happens when we take that market and tokenize it, where there is a 24/7 market of liquidity to capitalize on that?
Yeah.
That's going to be interesting. I haven't put a lot of thought into that, Rob. I don't know. I probably should, because I'm going to try to tokenize some real estate here in Costa Rica. I should try to game theory that out a bit. Interesting.
You know what? No, it's really interesting, because I just thought about that. Because if I need liquidity, I need liquidity now. If I want to go to the bank, it's a pain in the A at the bank, right? They want to see some documentation. They have to go to the county. They have to make sure that everything's up and I actually do own it, which I got to tell you is a safety issue. But if I can pull out, 20% pretty quickly, less than 24 hours of my property, and then I can tokenize that and then put that into whatever I want to, that's and it's not like I'm going to get margin called on my house. So I never thought about it.
Wait till the Bitcoin market gets mortgages like amortized loans. No different than your home mortgage.
You know what would be even better than that is you be the loan maker and amortize that.
Why don't you and I do that? That's something we should talk about.
Jerry, this is getting dangerous. This is dangerous conversation right now.
Hey, I woke up violent. What can I say?
I know, jeez. I was like, oh my God. Jerry just want everybody to kill him. All right. So we have that. But moving into so we talked about that institution, sovereign wealth funds.
Yes.
Current administration really heavy into Bitcoin. but you did talk about the drawdowns.
Uh-huh.
And I have to tell you, once we got that ETF, there's been a lot of comparisons to the gold ETF. The first gold ETF was November 18, 2004. And of course, our first spot Bitcoin ETF this is on January 2024. So roughly 2 decades later, right? Yeah. And I want to show you this. This is the spot price of gold over time. This is, do I have a better one? Hold on. Oh, well, I can just tell you, like, back in, yeah, the 90s, not so bad, but there was one that went even further back to like 1978, 79. And of course, the value of gold was higher because Tricky Dick had, taken things off the gold standard, so on and so forth. But what I really wanted to show everybody is 2004. Let me blow this up. Let me come over here. So 2004 price, what was that, November? So 477, 461, about 470. And then, of course, the ETF came in. Oh, that's not right. I'm sorry. November, 427. Okay. So you go there, you get an ETF, and then look what the price does from 2004, and in 4 years, you've doubled, right? And then there was a little bit of a drawdown, which is not too much. Well, actually, 960. What is that? Like 25%?
Well, you also got to remember that the time frame that you're putting on the screen right now, it corresponds with the financial crisis. And
oh, that's true.
Have to liquidate assets to cover things.
This is, well, there's two things. First, you're right. You're absolutely right. Liquidity, gold was liquid. I mean, you can liquidate your ETF a lot faster than you can liquidate your physical gold. However, gold was supposed to be the hedge, right? Against
look what happens after, though.
That's true.
Look at that sharp incline. People did go to gold instead of going back to this weird real estate market. Gold saw a tremendous amount of inflow.
Yeah. And then, I mean, that's, what are we at? 740 did 150%. I'll take that. $1,800. And then just not too much. Coronavirus, somewhere around here. But now look where we're at. That's pretty good. And what you'll notice is that there was a drawdown here. Again, 1,600 down to here. But it was pretty flat for a while. But then it almost looks like steps, right? So you have an ETF, you go up, and a little bit of a drop, but not too much. Then a little step, then a little pullback, and then boom, flat, boom, flat, boom. So if we take a look at that, and what I did was, because everybody knows the price of Bitcoin, I'm going to overlay Bitcoin. Oh, excuse me. This is gold price from the beginning of the ETF. That looks pretty good. Now let's take the Bitcoin price and put that over. And it pretty much kind of follows it to a point. But then look at where the ETF was, which was kind of hard to see. Right here. Look how much time gold has over us. We've only been doing this for about a year and some change. Where are things going to go? But then you have to also put in, like Jerry talked about, the liquidity, the money supply. And that, I think, is a bigger factor than a lot of things. But the thing to note was that when the ETF came in for gold, and we already had sovereign wealth funds, we already have it on central banks, we already had it on the corporations on their balance sheet, somewhat. But now that we have that there, do we have these big drawdowns? Like, and I'm talking about 70%, not 20, 30%. I can see that happening, but like 70%, 80%. I mean, 86% at the worst. Jerry, thoughts?
Yeah, I think I made my case pretty clear. I don't see us having beyond 30% drawdowns in Bitcoin ever again. Now, I could be wrong. Again, when you have such an easily liquidatable asset and the majority of people, shit hits the fan for them, obviously, if your family needs to eat, you will sell some Bitcoin.
Right.
if you need that money in your pocket tomorrow. So that dynamic is part of our market. We have to get used to it. But for the most part, you know, if people understand what the replacement cost is all about, what it costs to replace the Bitcoin that you sell today, you won't sell it. Once you understand replacement cost, people will stop selling their Bitcoin.
Do you think well, talk to me about that replacement cost, because this is what I always think about. I always try to be responsible. There's like two avatars on my shoulder. And one is like, you know, the heavenly one, like, Rob, you're doing a great job. Just keep doing what you're doing. And then there's the devil one. And you know what? If you sell all your Bitcoin, or you sell 50% of your Bitcoin, you put into this, you can make a lot more money. And of course, if it goes down.
I have a classic example from my own life. My birthday in 2018, for under $3,300, I bought my very first Bitcoin. I was a whole coiner, right?
Wow.
I was a whole coiner. I had a whole coin. And some point of 2019, I needed some money, right? I needed some money. It was I was down here in Costa Rica. I needed some money. And guess what? I sold that Bitcoin. Do you know how much it would cost me to replace that one Bitcoin today? I'll tell you, $118,000. That's how much it would cost me to replace it. So that when I say replacement cost, it's not an abstract thought. It's how much would it cost to replace it? It would cost me $118,000 to replace that Bitcoin today, only after 4 years. I think or 6 years. I have to be cognizant of that, and that's why I'm not going to sell my Bitcoin anymore. There'll be no more selling of Bitcoin for Jerry. There's other things I'll sell. I'll sell my body before I sell Bitcoin.
Yeah, exactly. Sell a ton of stuff.
I'll sell a kidney.
But you don't need both. I mean, I tell people this all the time. To stay off dialysis, you only need 15% function. Just think about that. So that would piggyback to the next piece, which you talked about. Okay, there's no major drawdowns, maybe not an 86%. What about 20-30%? Okay, reasonable.
Yeah, that's reasonable.
Yeah, which I mean I can definitely see. And maybe even 50, I mean, we'll say 50%, right? I don't know. But this was a pretty good one. It's the Bitcoin retirement calculator from bitcoineracademy.com. And there's many of these that are out there. I just want to run through some scenarios, because I don't like people think, well, I'll just, retire off my Bitcoin. And I wonder how this is going to play out as time goes on, because what you talked about, Jerry, first of all, with that real estate, people still getting to real estate and having their money tied up like I do. One great thing about real estate is it is cash flow, and you can get cash flow for short-term and long-term rentals. But of course, if you really estimate it over years and years and years, you're actually much better getting into Bitcoin, especially if you have to deal with the headaches of a tenant, and you have to deal with the taxes, and you have to deal with the upkeep.
There's
and you have
none
to
of the downside with,
there's no doubt.
with cash generating properties. There is no taxation. There is no maintenance fees. There is no damages incurred. There is no, what I mean?
Oh, I know what you plus me.
know.
I know. So check this out. So let's pick a current age. On my channel, it's somewhere between 33 and 56. So let's just put the current age of somebody who's 40 now.
Okay.
Me and Jerry aren't 40, but it'd be nice to be that again. Life expectancy. Okay, we're not. So average life expectancy for a male is 78.2 years, I think it is. Women are between 84 and 86. And there is a whole bunch of dudes that watch this channel. So let's just split in the middle. Life expectancy is 82 years old. The amount of Bitcoin you hold, let's just say 0.25 Bitcoin.
Okay.
Right? Because I mean, half a Bitcoin, if you just got in here, half a Bitcoin's that's a lot of money.
It's a lot of money.
It's a lot of money. I mean, it wasn't a lot of money back in 2020 when Jerry picked it up for $3,000, but it's a lot of money now. And here we are. So annual estimated buy. What do you think people can afford?
I believe $25 a week. So that's $100 a month, right?
Okay.
So that's $1,200 a year.
Okay. I can see that. Price annual growth. Now, this is the tricky one. The price of annual growth. I don't know if this would be compounded, because if I took a look over here, here's the annual returns for Bitcoin. Some years are great. And of course, there's diminishing returns, right? Here's 2013. Here's 2017. This looks actually kind of funny. 2020 was 304%. Okay. And then here's 2024 so far, 121%. But I mean, most are pretty green, except for 2022. But there is diminishing returns. Like, I think we can all agree, correct?
Yeah, I think 20% is reasonable.
Okay. Annual inflation, 2%?
2%, no way. There's only, hang on, there's only ever going to be 21. Over 19 and a half have been mined. So its inflation is relative to...
I think this is dollars, the dollar inflation. Because Bitcoin's disinflationary, I think.
Annual inflation, 10?
For the dollar?
Okay, you want to go higher?
I don't know. Let's just say 6. See, this is the problem with some of these. I'm like, annual inflation. Are we talking about Bitcoin inflation? Are we talking about inflation of dollar?
Maybe it's already factored in the Bitcoin inflation rate, so it wants the inflation of the M2 money supply. Yeah, go ahead and say 6.
All right.
That's very generous, by the way. We all know it's going to be more.
And how about this? Annual retirement income. Jerry, how much does it cost for to live comfortably over in Costa Rica?
I'm living like a king on $2,000 a month.
Okay, now we're talking.
Like a king. Like people, I can hire people to bring me grapes and shit like that.
What?
Yes.
Well, that doesn't sound like a bad job. So let's see. 120,000 seems pretty. If you're in America, I just saw this infographic, and it talked about if you want to be able to afford a house in, I think it was San Francisco, California, you need $248,000 to afford a median priced house. Austin, your income had to be like $164,000 per year, and then so on and so forth. I think Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania was the cheapest, and that was like almost $60,000. So let's just say you want an annual, let's just say $60,000. Let's go low. Okay, so the estimated buy, 1,200, price of annual growth, 20. And if we take a look over here, to retire, that's 0.32 to retire at 60 for 20 years. And that's how much you would need to get 60,000. That's not bad.
Nope.
And then, of course, you sell until you're dead. And then, of course, you die at 0.021. Again, I've watched a bunch of different videos, and for some, I see between 0.1 and 0.46 or somewhere around there. I think if you're anywhere around half of Bitcoin, especially moving out 20 years or so, and especially whatever the price is going to be, I think you'll be okay. Jerry, what do you think?
I agree. I mean, I'd like to have a lot more Bitcoin than I currently have. Oh, Rebecca's starting a grape delivery service.
Not too bad.
Oh, that's great.
Hey,
good job, Rebecca.
Okay. Yeah, I think that's pretty much it. So, I mean, again, that whole thing about the retirement, how much Bitcoin you need, I think it really comes to where you're going to live. And it also comes down to, and I don't think people talk about this too much, is what are your healthcare needs? I don't know if you saw that there's the famous UFC fighter, and also he's mostly like a libertarian and Bitcoin investor, Ben Askren. I don't know if you guys saw his piece. Young guy, I think he's only 37, 38 maybe, and he got pneumonia a couple months ago, and then he had to have it went so bad, it progressed so horribly that he had to have a double lung transplant. Double lung transplant. So left and right lungs were shot, had to have it. lives in America, had a pretty good insurance plan. Insurance plan says we're not going to spend a dime on that. Sorry. And I think he got the order filled from Jake Paul, as a matter of fact, because he fought Jake Paul. So Jake Paul ponied up the $1 million or whatever it was, and he got his double lung transplant. So when I see like people like, I want to retire here, I want to retire there, and I'm always thinking to myself, I don't think you can really retire in America anymore because of the cost of the houses, and then our insurance is awful. And then I worked in healthcare for 2 decades, and I can tell you it's just a catastrophe these days. And there's a reason why there's this thing called medical tourism, where people just go to other countries, Costa Rica, and they get their procedures done over there. So I think if you're okay with that, then you can realize that, yeah, that is. But different parts of the world, it's just hands off. Anyhow, that's my little soapbox. I'll get off now. Okay. Well, that was a bump. Dana White donates. Pretty good. It says, it's a pity you didn't get both of Jake Paul's lungs. Well, that's true. Hey, Jerry, this is a good one. If Bitcoin is to be used for liquidity like gold is 22 trillion compared to 2 trillion for Bitcoin. Bitcoin must at least 10x.
Exactly.
That seems kind of, 10x, I guess that would be around $1 million, right?
Mm-hmm. See, this is why I love messing with my AI, because we're at a place specifically around Bitcoin where there is a globally accepted asset that has a truly fixed supply. We've never had that in the history of capital markets ever. And so I play around with a lot of things, right? I ask it a lot of different questions. The AI that I'm using, Perplexity, can do a lot of math that I am not capable of doing on my own. And you know what I mean? And its ability to go back and historically, like I did this $25 a week every Friday at 5 p.m. from August 18th, 2019 to July 11th, 2025. If I did $25 cost average, $25 a week every single Friday, what would I have? It said, Jerry, you would have invested a little over $9,000. You'd have a little over $27,000+ worth of Bitcoin, which would be 0.2335 worth of of the amount of Bitcoin. And then I asked it again, do the math on a compounding appreciation rate, and let me know over 20 years if Bitcoin appreciated at 20% a year, what I would be holding. And they said, Jerry, that same amount of Bitcoin would have a $250,000 value. And I'm thinking to myself, there has been nothing in the history of capital markets that has that kind of potential growth. And so do I know? Can I trust the results of AI? No. But it can definitely give me an approximation. And I think that at the end of the day, that's what we're all trying to get. What is the most likely outcome?
The most likely.
And I can't do that with any of the other alts, right? I can't tell you Ethereum is going to be the winner. I've got too many cases of the Yahoo being the clear, undisputed industry leader to only lose way to a better product later. Right.
Yeah.
So you should see the shit I'm getting in my Twitter feed because of my stuff around Ethereum. It is like, oh, Jerry, you're wrong. You're this. And I'm going, dude, my thesis won't be played out till 2030. We won't know I'm right or wrong till 2030. So it's not really an argument. It's just, I have an opinion. You have an opinion, and let's go. Yeah.
And there's two ways to play that. Like if you would have invested into Yahoo stock in the beginning, you'd done pretty well for years and years and years. But then when Google took over, which it slowly did, you'd be doing pretty well. But now, like I see Google collapsing at some point, especially with AI and just like, I got to ask a question to everybody. Who uses Google still for search?
I actually do, believe it or not. And their workspace products
Yeah.
are incredible.
Yeah, I do like using the slides and docs and stuff like that.
Sheets,
But I mean,
docs, slides. This new company I'm building is built on the Google Workspace. So the domain name, email addresses, all that, the whole suite of stuff. It's great.
Yeah, I still use Google. It's not like I've totally done away with it. But if it's like complex questions, I'll usually use Perplexity or Grok.
Yeah, me too.
So like there's just a little bit of loss there. But I don't see Google. I mean, at some point, all great companies tumble. All right. Shinza says, hey, Jerry, if Midnight, as for privacy, which is going to have an airdrop pretty soon, if Midnight, Lewis, and Hydra all deliver what they promised, how will that reshape Cardano competitive position? That's a tough one.
You would have to think that Cardano would be well positioned, right? If a baseline settlement layer like Cardano is going to have almost unlimited transactions in a gaming world, like say Hydra actually catches on and the technology that allows Hydra to do what it does, it catches on to a market share game that gets 10-15% of the gaming industry's market share, then it's unlimited, right? It's unlimited. And Midnight and things of that nature, I think, are elements of the market that they saw are needed. Nobody else is working on them. So do they capture that? Are people's wills, trust documents, all those type of things, do they get built on chain through a Midnight? Probably, right? Most likely. Right? I mean, they're the only one. Well, I don't know if Monero's got a development team that's active and but you get the point. They're meeting a niche that I don't even think the market really understands it needs yet. But as we rotate into real world things, those protocols that you're listing there are got a great chance. So it's anybody's game. We're going to find out. I'll be holding.
Yeah, I'll be holding too. Let's see. White says, guys, your inflation is off. So I think what we're doing is he's talking about this one. And
what are you thinking?
Maybe it's CPI numbers, consumer price index. Because I know like the last 12 months, it's like 2.4 or somewhere around there. So let's just do this. Because I know I'm going to get a bombardment of, you're wrong on this. So let's just keep it at 2, whatever. So you got 0.301.
We'd say 2 to 3% inflation. Now we got to be talking about different things. We're not talking about the inflation of the US dollar.
I think we're talking about goods and services. I think that's what it is. Because if it was 2 before, that's just it. Like, I don't know. If we're talking about the US dollar, it's way higher. If we're talking about Bitcoin, it's disinflationary, but I think it's like 0.10. In 2012 was probably 12%. So I don't know which one it is. But the numbers that we put in, if it's 2%, 6%, or 12%, it really doesn't matter because you're at 0.301 here. You're at 0.32 here at 60 years old. And you have to come over here. 68, you're at 0.352. I guess inflation does make a big difference. But that's to be like double, triple, quadruple it. So thanks, Whites, for the inflation stuff.
We'd say is how you pronounce that.
We'd say.
See.
Powell needs to step down. Hey, do you think Powell's doing a good job, Jerry? You think he did an awful job?
I think he has. I think the work. Although you and I would love a liquidity cycle to pump our bags, right? We really would. The truth of the matter is only 1% of the population benefits from that.
Yeah.
Or 3 or 4% of the. Only people like us, which we're a very small percent of the population, benefit from that, right? Yeah. And so if you think about the good of mankind, I think Powell's been a great Fed chair.
Yeah, I think, well, we're not in a depression, so not too bad. I know some people hate his guts, but hey, imagine having that job. What a thankless job to be there.
Yeah, why would you want that job?
I don't know. Especially like I don't know. Some people just have to have have to have that position. And especially like Jay Powell is not like a spring chicken. You'd think that he'd want to like take it easy, but no, he's got to wake up and get constant a barrage of tweets on Truth Social calling him a moron, which would pretty much suck. But maybe he just doesn't care. Maybe he's like, you know what, I'm old enough. Who gives a? I'm going to be here till May. Forget you. Yeah, Powell is great. No, I didn't say Powell's great. I'm just saying that we're not in a depression. So, I mean, we could have done worse. That's for sure. Jupiter Mojo. But he's got to have one of the all-time best money printing memes of all time.
Yeah, yes, that was great.
That was pretty good. You know what? That's something to put on your resume at 77 years old or out. Old Jay Powers.
That was good. It was on Twitter every 15 seconds.
Yeah, and I think this is why people are ticked off, because they say Powell was happy to lower rates last year before the election. There's also this whole thing about, he came out and said we're going to be data dependent, and we have to take a look at the numbers. And he was worried about tariffs and inflation. And we found out that it's not inflationary. We're actually taking money in. And these corporations either are absorbing the cost or it's minimal. But yeah, he just doesn't want to. Now, I think that all the tariffs go into effect in August. Is that right? So we'll see how it works out after that. But then once that goes into effect, they're going to say, oh, we got to wait another month to see if it actually, if it really hits. And if we have inflation, then we have to go maybe another month just to make sure. And then, by May, he's like, I'm out. So have fun.
Deuces.
I would pay money to see that. Let's see. Remember transitory inflation, Janet Yellen?
Oh my gosh. Boy, they really, yeah. That whole thing was a moment in our history that hopefully will always just be a moment in our history. We'll never have to repeat it again. That whole thing was horrible.
Jerry, do you remember that stupid, we're going to tax you on unrealized gains?
Oh my goodness. How that has got to be, there's no logic that makes that acceptable. How could that even be a conversation?
I don't know. I mean, I hear about it also in other countries and parts of the EU. They want to tax. I always thought it was like a bargaining chip. Like they say, okay, so unrealized tax gains. So Jerry right now bought a Bitcoin for $3,217 in 2018. He's sitting on roughly 119,000. So, he's at 115,000 unrealized gains. They're saying that they're going to tax Jerry. That was what Yellen was essentially saying. We're going to tax you on your unrealized tax.
You're going to tax me that every year? Like I get taxed on that every year because I'm not selling the Bitcoin. Yeah,
maybe it would be like, see, that's just it. It's difficult to say. Maybe they say, okay, on the first year from 3,000 to 10,000, you are unrealized tax of 7,000. You pay us on that. And then the next year from 30,000 to 50,000, you owe us on 20,000. It was like the dumbest thing I've heard, but they were really going forward. I was surprised that they let it go. I think it was a bargaining chip, though, but who knows?
I think you're right, because it's insanity.
It's insanity. Jim says, Powell is just one vote in the Fed decision-making process. That is correct. But it is amazing how the person at the head, the Fed chair, has influence over everybody. And it just depends on which way people lean. Like, look at Gary Gensler and the SEC. And it was 3 Democrats versus 2 Republicans. You can correct me in the comment section. That's pretty much what it was. And if it wasn't for, and he was pretty much against everything. And somehow, through the grace of God, we got this Bitcoin ETF to go through. And I'm pretty sure it was Larry Fink calling up Gary like, listen, you have been putting a wrench in our plans for all this time. Do it or you're done. That's just a theory. That's an Epstein file case theory, but who knows? Epstein file case level. Not that I'm saying Gary Gensler was in the Epstein files. I'm just saying. All right. Extortion says, if you hold it for a certain time, it's tax-free, like in the UK. I think they do the same thing in Germany. Like if you hold your crypto for over a year, it's like tax exempt. Like no long-term capital gains, no capital gains. But there is no file, remember. You'll never meet a poor politician. It is amazing. That is true. It's amazing. Like, what did you do before this? Oh, I was a blah, blah, blah.
Ooh.
So whatever. And then, of course, like, what's your net worth now? Oh, yeah, I'm a millionaire. I think that's it. I think we.
Lucy, the Netherlands has an annual 2% tax on the total value of your possessions, unrealized value tax. Ay, 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 ay. Wow, bummer.
I wonder though how that does suck. I wonder though how everything else is taxed in the Netherlands.
Yeah, like do you pay income tax? Do you pay this? Do you pay that?
How about real estate tax? Wouldn't that be great to not get taxed on the house that you own and pay it off over 30 years to the government? How great would that be?
Spencer asked a question. I'll answer it. So I'm an American. If I earn over $100,600 a year, I need to pay Costa Rica tax. As long as I keep it under that, I only pay the U.S. Now, Costa Rica's taxation, I do pay taxes in Costa Rica because I own real estate, But it's like, case in point, I have 5+ acres of beautiful Costa Rica property. I pay, it's like $180 a year.
What?
For all my entire real estate holdings here. Yeah. It's $180 a year.
You mean the place with the waterfall that you have?
Yeah. $180 a year.
I feel nauseous. I think we should leave that as it is. That's amazingly. No, that I feel. Oh my God, I'm getting.
You feel betrayed.
No, I'm not. I live in a great place, so I'm good.
Yeah.
Everybody, Jerry. Thanks for coming on Sundays, man. It's always a pleasure. I appreciate you.
I do enjoy our Sundays together for sure.
Jerry, you're looking thinner. Just letting you know.
Dude, I'm doing it every day. I'm doing my max out muscle building and I'm doing my walks and I'm not eating sugar, flour, or wheat any longer. And I'm getting healthier. And that's the goal.
When's the first fast gonna happen?
Ooh. Well, a journey of 1,000 miles, I'm not saying it won't be included. It won't be anytime soon. I can tell you that.
Yeah.
Maybe when I come back from Rare Evo.
Good idea. All right, everybody, that's it.
Back from the Bitcoin place, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Bitcoin convention.
All right, everybody. Well, thanks so much for stopping by on a Sunday. I appreciate you guys. Like today's video, thumbs up, subscribe, check out Jerry over on X, and we will see you guys in next Sunday. Adios.